Hello, fine individuals. Welcome once again to the Dr. Zero Free Magic Secret Show. This is a, I believe, video number 3 now. It's about Egyptian Tarot. And this one's about the final card of the sequence. And just to recap very briefly, we're talking about a tarot deck called the Egyptian Tarot. It was based on C.C. Zane's work. He was an author that existed 1881 or 1882 to 1951, left behind a bunch of occult books. And he put this tarot together with the stuff he learned at the Hermetic Order of Luxor, who were pretty much based in Switzerland. And basically, like when Golden Dawn was around in the late 1800s, this group preceded them. And he was hired to be their secretary, and he learned all their stuff. So when he returned to the United States much later, or however it went, he ended up joining this thing called the Brotherhood of Light, which were kind of a new agey astrology sort of group. And then they just started putting out all his books. And unlike a lot of people, he said, I don't want to be a leader. I'm no leader. I just teach the stuff I know, and you can enjoy it or not. And they kept putting out his books forever. And they said, we're not going to touch it. You passed away. These are left forever. So it's this insanely advanced deck of tarot cards that not only consumes and everything that the Tree of Life is and all those lessons, but it reinterprets them in the grand pentagram of the universe, which has all to do with Egyptian stuff and the Egyptian mystery lessons of the pyramids and such. So anyway, the cards are of a different nature. One of the most distinguishing things here is that the 8 is justice and the 11 is strength. Okay, and there's reasons for that. You read the book to find out why. And the other striking thing is that the beginning of the sequence, unlike Rider-Waite or the Tarot, where the Fool, 0, is the first in the sequence, this one, number 1, is the first of the sequence. It is once again the equivalent of the Magus or Magician, and it stands for Aleph, right? And so what they do is the 0 gets pushed to the end of the sequence, actually, because it's the final outcome. Sort of like the white diamond of the Tree of Life, if you know what I mean. This card is called the Materialist. And the thing is, it's like, just like the world, it's like you're weighted down by all the things of the world. So the idea is that if, in Egyptian Tarot, is that if you get a card the right way, well, first, any card that you draw is a lucky card. That's the way it's seen, because it's forcing you to concentrate on some aspect of existence. And that's the thing that you should be using with regular tarot as well. Like, ditch this whole, like, it's reversed, so therefore it means all this. Like, no, just do them all the right way, straight up, or if they're reversed, what have you, you do that. So what this does is, if the card's the right way up, it means the glass is more than half full, and it's a lucky card regardless. If the card is upside down, it's still a lucky card because the universe is like, yo, pay attention to this part of existence. You get a wisdom lesson. Hey, it's like, it's helped. Hey, there's this quarter behind your ear. Look, I got your nose. But that kind of thing. So, but anyway, so if the card is upside down, it means the glass is less than half full. It doesn't mean that it's at like it can go all the way to 0.01%. And when it fills up, it can go all the way to 99.99999%. It's a kind of thing. And that has a lot to do with Oriental mysticism too, that whole thing right there. But so, if it's cards upside down, you don't know if it's anywhere from 49.9% less than 50%, all the way down to 0.01%. You know what I'm saying? So blah, 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 blah. So basically, that's the one time in this whole sequence where it's really important if it's upside or down or the right way up, because it's the end of the sequence. So you got one that, like, if it's pointed correctly in its normal way, that means the person ascends to the heavens and becomes gnosis with all. If it's upside down, it shoots you down to the underworld where you're stuck forever. So that's why it's called the Materialist, and it's represented by either the number 22 or 0. And 0 is the high note, I do believe. It's supposed to be like Pluto, way far out, because Pluto is the start of the supposed energy chain of all astrology, where it's supposedly the power starts like a circuit breaker at Pluto, and then goes down like a spaghetti webbing all the way to the moon, where the moon is the ultimate transmitter. So blah, blah, blah. Listen to the other videos. All this will make more sense. So just, this is this version of tarot, the Sacred Tarot by C.C. Zane. So this is the Materialist. And it's called Arcanum 22. Arcanum because it's the magical principle. Instead of saying Trump or whatever, but Arcanum 22 or 0. Letter Egyptian. This means Thoth. Hebrew, Tau. English T, number 22. Astrologically, the planet Pluto. Color, ultraviolet and infrared. Tone, harmony. Or the color may be black and the tone in harmony. Haha. In science, it is either materialism or spirituality. Natural remedies, stellar healing. Human function, soulmate system. Mineral, the soil of Earth, or the element plutonium. T, 22, expresses in the spiritual world annihilation. 0 expresses eternal progression. In the intellectual world, 22 is atheism, and 0, devotion to religion of the stars. In the physical world, 22 is materialism, and 0 is ceaseless cooperation in the furtherance of the great cosmic plan. And here's the big aphorism. Remember then, son of Earth, just kind of like Superman in like his Fortress of Solitude, that all things physical pass away, and that before the soul can pass to higher realms, every debt to nature must be paid to the utmost farthing. If Arcanum 12 should appear in the prophetic signs of thy horoscope, imprudence threatens to encompass thy ruin, and thou wilt be called upon to pay for thy folly, unless thou immediately changeth thy ways. In divination, Arcanum 12 means failure, folly, and mistake, or spirituality. Arcanum 22, or 0, like the planet Pluto, has a dual interpretation. As 22, it is well represented by the letter T, with its point thus down. But as 0, the circle being the symbol of spirit, it is represented by the reverse T, that is, having the point or energy directed upward, the crossbar resting below on the earth, and thus indicating that the thoughts, emotions, and actions are directed exclusively toward spiritual endeavor. It is figured by a blind man carrying bags on his left shoulder. He leans on a black staff and walks toward a fallen obelisk, behind him which a crocodile with open mouth awaits to devour him. Above is an eclipse of the sun. The eclipse signifies that the spiritual light from within has been obscured by material interests, or it signifies that dark forces from the inner plane try to shut away the spiritual illumination which guides the neophyte. The bags over the left shoulder of the blind man indicate the material things of life he has spent his efforts acquiring, or it represents his ability to minister in physical ways to those in need. The staff of experience with good and evil is black, indicating that prudence is subservient to the demands of the senses, or that the demands for uplifting and protecting others is so great that, though enlightened, he ignores all danger. The fallen obelisk symbolizes the final overthrow of all temporal work and power. The crocodile indicates the ultimate fate of all who are blind to spiritual things, and also the persecution of those who work to spread the true facts of spirituality. This blind man is the atheist or materialist, and the man who is so absorbed in material aims that he neglects all thought of spiritual things. It is likewise the man who is a slave to his desires, and the ensemble thus symbolizes the inevitable suffering which follows sin, or it symbolizes the truly spiritual man who is so enthusiastic in his effort to assist the race that he is completely blind to the consequences of himself. And thus, equally well, it symbolizes the law of universal compensation, which decrees that for all effort expanded in a constructive channel, there inevitably follows increased ability and real advancement. Numerically, number 22 is the third decav of 4, and thus represents sex used to gratify the passions, or for magical and selfish purposes. 0, however, which is the alternative reading of the Arcanum, represents the cycle and shows that there is a transition of character to a higher basic spiritual or vibratory level. In astrology, it is found that the planet Pluto has 2 marked and opposite qualities. It rules the gangster and racketeer when its destructive side manifests, and it rules the highest type of spiritual effort and the realization by the individual of his cosmic work when the better side is manifest. These 2 extremes are symbolized by Arcanum 22. On its destructive side, Arcanum 22 corresponds to and symbolizes the disintegration of the vehicle on the inner plane occupied by the soul. And on the constructive side, Arcanum Zero represents the infiltration to the soul yet on Earth of information and instructions from adepts occupying the super velocity spiritual plane. In alchemy, Arcanum 22 signifies failure in transmutation, and the regimes adopted in the hope of transmutation, which led only to repressions. Arcanum Zero, on the other hand, represents the work and cosmic affairs which is undertaken after the great work has been accomplished. In the Bible, we read about that the fool has said in his heart that there is no God, blah, blah, blah. For what is a man profited if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? But whosoever speaketh against the Holy Ghost, it shall not be forgiven him, neither in this world, neither in the world to come. Speaking against the Holy Ghost is effort made to prevent the progress of the great plan of eternal evolution. Masonry. In Masonry, the sublime knight elected is based upon Arcanum 22, the Tau, or T, with the point down instead of with the point up, and thus indicating that the creative energies are devoted exclusively to material ends. And the reason why is because Masons build things. They put sacred geometry in buildings. They push all this ancient magic stuff and all these numbers, and they insert it in buildings. That's the big thing. That's the secret handshake. Aren't they terrifying? Whoa. Magic. This is what y'all been waiting for. In Magick, Arcanum 22 indicates that the individual has given himself over to the control of invisible intelligences who have no regard for his welfare and who use him consistently to thwart any and everything which is true and progressive on the face of the earth. It symbolizes elemental affinities that are formed in the selfish endeavor to gain, through magic, material advantages over others. Arcanum Zero, the alternate interpretation in Magick, however, indicates that there is freedom from all control, but that the individual has contacted intelligences of a very exalted spiritual plane who direct him consistently in his efforts to give to those on earth new and higher teachings. Bite free magic. Initiation. In the soul's pilgrimage, Arcanum 22 represents the failure of the soul to gain self-consciousness, immortality. It also represents the obstacles which, whenever the neophyte sets his feet resolutely on the path of adeption, he is sure to attract. The resolution to live in a different manner by the law of affinity causes the thinking about it to attract obstacles to the performance of the thing resolved upon. Arcanum Zero, on the other hand, indicates that the soul, through its earthly experiences, has developed in the building of its spiritual form far enough that it will not need to tarry in the astral world after the dissolution of the physical, but will go at once to undertake a higher mission for the Father and the still more interior planes. And it represents that law of affinity which, when the aspirations are vivid, attracts spiritual entities and forces which enable it, through their help, to overcome the obstacles to its spiritual progress. Occult science. Arcanum 22 represents the soul-annihilating dogmas of materialism, but Arcanum Zero, on the other hand, represents the soul-uplifting teachings of the religion of the stars. So that's all for the Dr. Zero Free Magic Secret Show. Please hit the subscribe button, post these videos in Facebook groups, on Reddit, wherever you go and do your stuff. Mention it on TikTok. Anything helps. I do this all for free. This is all my spare time. There's a lot of it because, in my opinion, the world already ended. So anyway, nice to see you all again. Blah, blah, blah. This and that, this and that, this and that. Nothing much more witty. Here's a cool song. Stop.